Station 51, engine 27, engine 32, truck 105.
You're listening to The Fire Break with Steve Wolf. Welcome back to The Fire Break. I'm Steve Wolf. As you know, I'm sure by now, The Fire Break is sponsored by Team Wildfire, developing innovative technologies for fire control. And guess who else is doing something pretty darn similar? Sean Henry from FYREBX is joining me live from Viola, California this morning. How are you today, Sean?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Sean, what gave you the crazy idea that controlling fires required hardware?
Well, I actually have invented several products in the fire industry over the last 30 years, but this all came about me. I had sold my company, retired in my former career, and I was in Montana, loving life, fishing every day, hunting and all that. And but I ended up buying a couple skid steers, compact track loaders, and then I got some masticators to start clearing my land in Montana. I started having just a really good time. I went from 100 employees to just me and just,
Oh,
cleaning the
nice.
forest and parking things out. And at that time, I was also very interested in wildland firefighting. Uh, you know, we had 50 acres in Montana. We had a huge fire threat. So getting our property, ready for if anything came that direction. And then I became a fire contractor and I was doing fuels reduction as a fire contractor. We'd go in and clear, widen right of ways and things like that along the roads if there was a fire. And while I was doing that, the Forest Service said, "Hey, where's your firebox tools? And where's your 300 gallons of water? And where's your dozer blade?" Well, I went from just me having a good time with my one machine to now I got to hire people, buy a lowboy, a semi, I got to do all these things. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So I looked online, tried to find a piece of equipment that I could use on my track loader, and there was nothing out there. So that started the whole process of developing Firebox.
Wouldn't the better way just be going back to being retired?
I was bored. Yeah, I couldn't sit still. Believe it or not, I hunted and fished for 2 years and I
Yeah.
literally got bored. So yeah, I had to get back to doing things.
And then what coerced you to move from Montana to California?
That is my claim to fame right now. I'm the only person that sold his place in Montana and moved back to California. Yeah, people think I'm crazy, but my wife and I both grew up here.
Okay.
Redding, California is just down the hill from us, and it's kind of right in the middle of the I-5 corridor. You've got I-5 from Canada down to Mexico. That's all fire country through there.
Right.
We've grown up around wildfires our whole life, and our families were getting our parents were both here. They were both getting older, and we felt like, you know what, we've had a good life. Let's move back, spend time with family. And so we did move back. I was able to fix up a home for my wife, and that's when we thought, you know what, it's time to start Firebox. So Firebox started the old cliche of starting in a barn. It literally started in a barn, just myself, and welding up the first 6 of them. And then from there, we just started to grow.
And you said you were fixing up a home for your wife. Is that project completed now?
Yes, sir. Actually, yeah.
There's nothing left on the honey-do list?
No. They say that you never finish your home until you actually sell it. You get that last punch list.
Right.
But I've been very diligent and made sure that we got everything done.
That's good. I just want to make sure you don't get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing with your toys in the garage when you should be finishing up the house.
Exactly.
All right. So tell me about Firebox and what's the essence of the invention?
So Firebox started with the T3. That's a 300-gallon unit, which meets the requirements for mechanized water on, say, logging sites, fuel reduction sites, anywhere they're running heavy equipment, saws, and things like that in the woods. And so with that, it has the 300 gallons of water. Everything is run off of the hydraulics of the machine.
Okay.
So we have a hydraulic pump in there that never loses prime. So if we're, going on different grades, elevations, sideways, all that stuff, we never have to worry about running dry or losing prime on our pump. So from there, then we also added the dozer blade, which gave me the function of cutting a line around something. So I could do initial attack. I could put a line around it if I caused a fire when I was doing masticating and so forth. And then I could do mop up with it at the same time. So then we had one more feature that was added to it soon after, and that was the ability to hydroseed. So with the
What?
same
I'm sorry?
hydroseed,
Hydroseed. Yeah.
yeah. So with the Firebox, you can not only spray water, but you can spray retardants, foam, any of those products, pesticides, herbicides, whatever you can think of that needs to be sprayed, you can spray with a Firebox, but you can also spray hydroseed with it. So now you can do reclamation work
Right.
after the fire. So yeah, so then we went from the T3 to the T5, and the T5 is a 500-gallon unit,
Okay.
and it goes on a little bit larger machines because of weight capacity. But a lot of people, they say, well, gosh, that's a lot of water on the front of a skid loader, and they're right, it is. But what's special about Firebox is part of the patent is a third of the weight is actually over the tracks.
Okay.
It's behind the mounting plate. So if I were to have 300 gallons of water out in front, say for
Right.
example, just a 300-gallon tote of water on a fork,
Yeah, it's a ton and a half out there. Right.
yeah, that's a lot of water,
Yeah.
and it's too far out there. But
Right.
by bringing the weight over the tracks and then having the dozer blade in the front, man, it just handles really, really good. Now they have some larger machines coming out. The Cat 275, the Cat 285, the ASV 135, Takeuchi TL12. That's not a new machine, but it's a bigger machine. The John Deere 335. And if you see, I'm referencing all the manufacturers. We
Yeah.
fit every single brand of machine that's currently out there. And that was quite a feat,
For sure.
creating little differences in the wings to make sure they fit on the track loader. We now have our new severe duty, which is after being on the fires for the last couple of years, getting feedback from customers. We now have launched the new severe duty, which actually has the dozer blade part of the tank.
Okay.
And it's all 5/16 steel, cutting edge, and it's a 500-gallon, but now half of the weight is behind the mounting plate.
Oh, wow. And before it was like
Yeah.
a third, right?
Yeah, it was a third. So the more weight we can get over those tracks, the more stability you're going to have.
Sure. Wow. And so what you buy a Firebox module and then you hook it up to the PTO on
Yeah, so when you buy it,
host vehicle?
there's two ways you can do it. One is if you currently have a machine, you can buy the Firebox T3 or T5. Oh, we also offer a T4 now, I'm sorry. But they mount onto your machine, just a quick attach plate. You plug in your hydraulic fittings into your hydraulic, your auxiliary fittings. You do not require high flow for this. It's all standard flow. We only use between 8 and 10 gallons per minute.
Okay.
And you're ready to go.
Wow.
And all
So,
the functions of the Firebox are actually controlled from inside the cab. So as well as you can just spray the Firebox, with a roller thumb or a switch that you have. The cool thing about the Firebox being on a track loader is the machine itself is a monitor gun, because the reason you have monitor guns is because you have a stationary water truck or fire truck, or you have a Type 6 engine.
right.
Those don't do this. You
Right.
can't do that. So you got to have a monitor gun. So the Firebox in itself on the skid steer gives you a ton of mobility and range. Now we do offer now the new the monitor gun for it, and the monitor gun is really. I would still use the Firebox for initial attack or everything I'm doing. I would still use the machine. It's much more faster, more efficient. But where the monitor gun really comes in handy is when you're on steep grades, and let's say you get a tree going up.
Yeah.
You don't want someone lifting their monitor, their machine up and causing it to roll over. So you
Right.
keep the machine stable, and then you use the monitor gun to follow up the tree.
Okay. Just like a traditional monitor.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
And
And is the monitor also hydraulically driven, or is that on 24 volt
good
DC
question.
like
So
a regular monitor?
yeah, it's like a regular monitor. And we actually cracked the code on that monitor. So now we have a special device that mounts to the monitor gun, and you can plug directly into your 14 pin on your compact track loader.
Yep.
And you can run all the functions with your thumbs right there in the cab.
Wow. Which thumb?
Let's see. On the Cat, it's the right one. On the Bobcat, it's the left one. I'm not sure on the other two, but everything can be run from your right or left thumbs.
Okay. Have you had an experience that other people in the hardware space have had in that figuring out how to put out fire is easier than figuring out how to get your technology adopted by people who need it?
That's a really good question. I'll first say this. When we started Firebox, I explained to my team, I said, guys, I've been around fire contractors. I've been around fire chiefs. I've been in fire camp. I've been around these things. Fire guys have a strong, um, well, let's put it this way. When everybody's leaving the emergency, firefighters are running in.
Right.
This takes a
Bias towards
strong,
action, it's called, right?
yeah, this takes a strong personality. So when
Yep.
someone's been doing something a certain way, they don't want some guy that doesn't have any, experiences, any street cred of doing the same thing he does, coming and saying, "Hey, I have the next best thing for you." So we didn't do that. When we first approached with Firebox, we went with the loggers, the fuel reduction teams, to actually, protect them, protect their assets when they're on doing their jobs, say for PG&E or other utility companies. The Firebox has been very effective in knocking down fires when they start a fire. Well, when that happened, guys like a Cal Fire and other people started to see, oh my goodness, this is pretty incredible. I let them tell me.
Yeah.
I didn't go to them and say, "Hey, I got the next best thing," because they'll
Right.
just completely ignore you.
Yep.
So we really approached it from the logging, fuels reduction. Then we started getting some feedback from some of the Cal Fire guys and other Forest Service guys, guys that are retired from both industries, from the feds and the state. And from there, it kind of moved into prescribed burns.
Okay.
We had a lot of companies like Firestorm, Grayback, Terra Fuego, where they're using the firebox in their prescribed burn. Uh, I'm sorry, my brain went dead there, but they're for their prescribed burns,
It's part of their
and
kit.
they were like, this is so effective. So when I went up on a fire, I helped on a prescribed burn in McLeod. And when I first got there, they said, "Hey, tell you what, we're gonna get our deal going here, and when we kind of get things calmed down, we're gonna give you a little patch of grass. We're gonna light it on fire and see what
Right.
you can do with it." So they
Yeah.
kind of poo-pooed me,
Yeah.
And I said, "That's okay, that's okay." So they started on their fire. Well, the wind shifted and it went up in the trees. And guess what? Their Type 6 with their 300-gallon tank and hose reel couldn't reach the issue, and they
Yeah.
did not want it to crown and get bigger.
Right.
They yelled at me and said, "Hey, can you get in there?" I said, "Absolutely, sir." I drove right in, went into the black, went through a little fire, cleared my path, put out the tree in seconds. After that, it was Firebox One, Firebox One, Fire. They were calling me the entire time. One thing we realized is for every 12 fill-ups on a Type 6 engine, saying that they're going to fill up their 300-gallon tank and have it ready. You got to remember, they're pulling that line out there. That's a lot of line loss, a lot of water loss in that line.
Yeah.
For everything they were doing, we did one fill up. So my 300 gallons was managed much better because I could go right to the head of the fire. I could go right to where the issue is. I could deal with it, and then I'm done. I don't have to sit there and try and reach with my water and all that. Once that happened, these these companies became huge fans, and so now when they write their deal of how they're going to do the burn and everything, Firebox is in that, and we're really excited. So when that happened, Cal Fire was on these incidents where they could oversee and make sure everything was safe. They started seeing it, and they're like, "Wow, this isn't a toy. This is the real deal." So now here in firefighters come to me and say, or come to our team and say, "Hey, this is a great product." We were able to achieve that without telling them this is a great product.
Right. We got this thing. You tell us if it's any good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very interesting. Now, monitor for monitor is what the Firebox does, equivalent to the same monitor with the same pump flow on the Type 6. The main difference being proximity and access.
Yes. Yes. I can get between trees. I can handle steep terrain. I don't need a road. So I can get where I need to go and then take care of the situation.
When the only road is no road.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another thing they really like, I don't know if you've been on fires, but a lot of your listeners may have been on fires. You get a bunch of Type 6 on a, say on a dozer line, it's hard to move around. You get congested and there's no access, like the road gets blocked.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about the firebox is I can just pull off the road and sit up on the hill and let traffic go by. And then I can go back to what I'm doing. So last year, Firebox was a hit in Oregon. We had a lot of fires in Oregon. ODF loved Firebox, and they were using it for initial attack. They were using it for mobile attack, spillover. So the Firebox could follow with the track loader could follow the dozer line, and then they were basically patrolling the lines. And anywhere a fire spilled over, Firebox would extinguish it, and then they'd use the dozer to cut a line around it. And then after that, it was all mop up.
Okay. How many pieces of equipment do you have in the field now?
I believe we have over 400 units out there.
Wow. That's a huge accomplishment. In how long?
3 years. We started July 4th in 22,
Okay.
and now and July 4th of 25 was our 3-year birthday.
All right. And are you selling equipment or providing a service or both?
We're just selling equipment. I do go out and help them prescribe burns. We donate that time and the machinery. It's a great time for people to see it in the field, but it's also gives me time with them, any ideas, things they want to add to it, and just gives me more feedback from an R&D standpoint.
I see. And what type of people are giving you the R&D feedback? Are these end users?
Yes,
At every level?
Yeah, I mean, like for a lot of the fire bosses, a lot of the guys, dozer bosses, guys who are on the fires, they'll come back. Hey, we saw your machine. We love that it did this and this. Could you do this with it? And I'd say, yes or no. Yeah, we could add this. We have a lot. We now have over 30 SKUs, different products related to Firebox, new attachments, accessories. And so we just keep expanding it. It's kind of like the multi-tool, we just keep adding another feature to it.
Okay. And so whether you add a feature or not would depend on whether one guy wants it or everybody wants it, right?
Yeah, for example, I was on a fire down in San Luis Obispo, and the guy was using it. His last name was Mike Hyder, and he was running a 299 with a Firebox. He loved it. He was running all over the place, and it really Firebox became a hit with that team down there doing a prescribed burn with CAL FIRE. And he said, I like it to do one thing. I said, what's that? He goes, I like to pull up to a snap tank or a pumpkin, and I like to refill it. I was like, yeah, we could come up with something. I was on that fire for 3 days. The following day I got back. I already had it developed. And so now we have the ability we call it the Hyder pump. We named it after Mike Hyder with CAL FIRE. And so we have it now where we have a 20-foot auxiliary hydraulic line that you can at a pump, and you can lay your auxiliary Hyder pump right in the snap tank or pumpkin, whatever water source you have, and now you can refill your Firebox in about 60 seconds.
That's great. Wow.
And one other feature with that, the pump that we used for the Hyder pump is the same pump in the machine. So if you had a failure, if that pump in the machine failed, I can swap it out.
Swap it out. Modular.
So having redundancy and making things simple has really been one of our main objectives.
And what's where do you see the company 7 years out?
It's exciting. I mean, what's happening now is guys are just showing up at our shop with their dozers, their skidders, different equipment. They're saying, hey, we love Firebox. We love the lines. It's a proven product. We want it for this piece of equipment. So I believe we're going to continue to do R&D. We're going to continue to make different products for different machines, maintaining the high quality and just how we really spend attention to detail on our equipment.
What was your prior career?
I was an artist designer. I was a swimming pool contractor, landscape contractor. I built very high-end pools and so forth. Got into actually constructing stainless steel pools, got into a lot of metal stuff, and really enjoyed it. And but yeah, so I've been a designer artist pretty much all my life.
Okay, so you came by your engineering acumen through your previous work.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They often say that You have you've got your artist that likes certain designs, but you have your engineer that has the function, and there's always a uh, a little bit of a pull
Right.
in that. And I kind of do both. I have the design ability. I have the ability to mechanically, how could this work? How can we value engineer this and make it better? Things like that. And then to actually produce it. So I've been very fortunate and blessed that I can do both of those things.
And you enjoy it.
I love it.
That's
I'll,
great.
I'll, I'll never, I said I retired when I was younger, and that was a big deal for me to retire in my 40s, like my grandfather did. And once I did it, yeah, I don't want to do that again. So I will continue to design and innovate until the day I die.
What do you see physically as the next realm of challenges? The nature of wildfires changed and is continuing to change. Hotter, drier, faster, windier, steeper, more houses in the wooey. So how do you think your technology is going to advance to keep up with the new tricks that fire has up its sleeve?
I think, one of the we've fought fire traditionally with shovels, axes, McLeods, Pulaskis,
Medieval
removing.
gardening tools, right?
Yeah, we create brakes, fuel brakes, things like that to take the fuel away from the fire. I believe having a quick response where equipment can do a quick response and also requiring less people. One guy could go out with a firebox. We were on a fire, in fact, 4 weeks ago, or I'm sorry, about 2 months ago, and it was a prescribed fire. The gentleman was a ex fire chief for Cal Fire. He's now training and certifying firefighters on different functions on the fires. And after he got done using the firebox for a couple of days, he said, "You know what? This will do the work of 20 guys and 3 Type 6." And I said, "Well, what does that mean to you?" He says, "Well, we were able to burn 4 times. There was a prescribed burn. We were able to burn 4 times as much property to create a fire, fire safe environment because we had the firebox." So uh, I just believe having a quick response is going to make a difference. Being able to have access is a big deal. Now we don't have to require on hose lays going forever.
Right.
Uh, the fact that we could actually just drive and cut our way, be a little more nimble, getting in between different terrain and so forth. That's going to make a big difference.
And the tracks are a big deal, aren't they?
Tracks are a big deal, and I'm glad you brought that up. We have people often that say, "Well, I would never take a rubber track in a fire." And I have run Firebox for 3 years now in a lot of black, a lot of hot areas. Now, am I going to let my cat or whatever equipment I have sit in the middle of a fire? Absolutely
Probably
not.
not. Yeah.
No. In fact, before my tracks light up, it's going to be way too hot for me to even be in that cab. So the tracks have not been an issue. They've been great. And the great thing about the tracks is we don't tear up roads.
Right.
Going up driveways and things like that. They would never think of taking a D6 driving up someone's stamped concrete.
They'd think of it, but
Yeah, they
they'd
think
get in
of it, but
trouble
it's
for
like,
it.
yeah, we're going to destroy this. But the fact that I can,
Yeah.
we had a situation where the one of the owners of a big fire contract, I won't say the company, but a fire went up to his house a couple of years ago out of Chico, and as Cal Fire was leaving, they say, "Hey, we're going to lose this." It was about midnight. The fire's coming up and over. This owner with his team went in with 4 or 5 guys and his firebox. The firebox. He was able to save 12 homes. They did lose one, but they saved 12 homes with their firebox and
Wow.
with their team. So, yeah, just be able to get around, and not destroy stuff is going to be really helpful as well.
And tell me about your customers. You talked about Cal Fire and other fire agencies. Have you done any work directly with insurance companies or other asset owners?
We've had a few insurance companies contact us about getting involved with teams to do structure protection, in certain regions, and we're totally open to that. But we've really we've shown it to insurance companies. They love it. They love the idea of it. They see that it's working. But our biggest customer has been really the fuels reduction and logging companies, as well as the fire contractors.
And California has a mandate now to burn X amount of acres, right, in prescribed fires every year. And
Yeah.
and I believe they're running pretty far behind their target goal on that.
Yeah, they're running behind. Also, fuel reduction, getting in with masticators and doing and thinning a lot of the right of ways and things like that. One of the problems is the time of year that you can go in and thin is usually one of the worst times of the year to be running a masticator in the woods. You're just going to start a fire with that equipment. So having a firebox on hand when you start a fire, it's right there to take care of it. We just had a customer. He owns 6 Timber Pros. These are very large masticators. And he was on a big job on a Sierra Pacific property, and he has a firebox that we custom built on a skidder, and we built a skidden for him with a monitor gun on the front. He had one guy up there running the Timber Pro. He started the Timber Pro caught fire, fully engulfed, and it started the grounds on fire. And he was able to climb out of his machine, get in his skidder with his firebox. Typically the older skidders and stuff, you have to go to the back and start the 4-stroke engine, and you're just going to use a hose lay basically to get it, or a hose reel to be able to attack it. He was able to stay in his machine, use the monitor gun, do a mobile attack on it. He went in, completely put it out. The whole site was secure. Cal Fire showed up, and they're like, "Wow, this is awesome," and so it really turned out well.
That's great. What do you think about this idea that a gallon is a gallon is a gallon, rather than when they make a requirement on a vehicle, they say how many gallons it has to have because they have a preconceived idea of what a gallon of water will do, rather than the metric being, how many linear feet of suppression can you achieve with this machine?
Yeah, a lot of that gallonage of water is also, I believe the biggest thing out there is they're required to have a large hose lay to get to the fire. There again, because that equipment can't get to where the fire is.
Right.
So they have to have pumps with high pressure, be able to pump uphill to try and get to the fire. That takes a lot of time to get that set up.
For sure.
And then you're also limited on your weight capacity of that water on your equipment. So you can only have a certain amount of water. So even though it's been done this way for a lot of years, we call it water management. Managing your water is really key in this industry. And so the fact that I can take my firebox right to the issue, boom, it's out. I've used a couple gallons instead of losing all that water in that hose lay, and then the water of trying to reach where the fire was. They spend a lot of time overshooting or undershooting, wasting that water. So water management's a big deal.
And what about water droplet size? I guess if you're using the same monitor, you're basically getting the same.
Yeah, but we do foam as well. Using air aspirated nozzles. The one that we have does about a 10-to-1. We can even upgrade ours to a compressed air foam system where you get a 20-to-1 expansion. So, wetting agents are a big deal because they break that surface tension and makes water wetter, basically more efficient. So yeah, definitely.
And what are you seeing in terms of retardants on the market?
There's a lot of new ones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big boys though that kind of control that market.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
I think the New York Times ran an article about it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So we currently run FOSCheck, for example, through the firebox. If they're doing if they're going to light, do a back burn, say on a fire, they'll spray behind the dozer line with FOSCheck with the firebox to keep it from going back on itself.
Right.
But there's a lot of new technology coming. We've had a few people come from different colleges, in California, say, hey, we want to use your product to deploy our product.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff happening.
It's an exciting time.
It is.
Yeah. I'm really surprised about insurance companies not adopting you more. When you talked about that contractor almost lost his house and ended up saving 12 houses with his firebox. When you weigh the cost of the hardware against the cost of the loss, it's insane that they wouldn't fund that more.
Yeah, we did have a situation. We've had a couple of them I completely forgot about, where the rancher, when he had a firebox, it was similar to, they recognized it as a Type 6. So the fact that the rancher had a Type 6, they did have got better insurance rates by having the firebox on their property. So we do have a couple cases where that is currently starting to happen.
And in some cases, the property values are so vast that even 5% reduction in their insurance would cover the cost of the firebox.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, big time.
And was it sufficient that they had it there, or did they also require that there be a trained operator with it?
I don't know that answer. I believe it was just having the equipment on there. The equipment with a firebox, I believe, the same thing where if you're in a certain distance from a hydrant, or if you're in a certain distance from a fire department, they went with the idea of having that a Type 6 right there ready to do initial attack to keep it, to stop it before anything gets big.
Right.
They allowed that.
I wonder if we're going to see changes, though, in the benefit that they assign you from being near a hydrant or a fire department, when the huge losses come in situations where it wouldn't matter if you were the fire department, and you built your house over a hydrant.
Yeah.
When there's 20,000 homes on fire, it's irrelevant how close you are to the fire department.
I think that one of the biggest things it's so confusing to me is, for example, we were right here at the car fire, that took out east side of Reading, Old Shasta. That was a major deal right before the Paradise Fire happened.
Yeah.
The campfire. But, a lot of people lost their homes out there. And what's amazing? They still don't clear their properties and fire harden their homes. They still put up cedar fences. They still have cedar mulch. They let, in fact, a lot of these structures there where there are new homes, there's still dead vegetation from the fire going through with new vegetation growing through it.
Wow.
And so I think it's not so, it's a dual approach. From the fire industry, you got to have the equipment, the manpower, the everything ready to go to deal with it. But at the same time, you got to have homeowners, property owners, fire hardening their properties to protect, one another. The thing that's frustrating to me is you could have somebody fire harden their home, but then the guy next door to him doesn't.
Right. It's got to be community based.
It's got to be community based, and I hate government control, but I don't know if that's what's going to happen at some point to force people to keep their properties clean. But it would make a big difference in this wild urban land interface of really truly fire hardening your properties, your homes, the structures, and things like that.
You might be able to do it with economic levers instead of government regulation.
Sure.
And just have insurance companies say, Sean, we're gonna drop your coverage, or we're gonna double your premium because your neighbor hasn't done the fire hardening on their home.
Yeah, and one thing I thought about, I don't know if this has ever happened, but is there a liability issue to where if I lost my home and I did everything I'm supposed to, and this person next to me didn't, and it caused my structure to burn down?
Yeah.
Shouldn't the liability be on my neighbor for
Bring
not
the case? Create the case law.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a dual approach with the wildland urban interface. It's definitely the new technology in the fire industry. Man, this year with the amount of helicopters and new planes and things like that, Cal Fire's done an amazing job. I mean, they have knocked stuff down quick. It's been pretty impressive. But we still have the issue of people not cleaning up around their properties and things like that.
Yeah. So what is Firebox? What do you do when you can't bring a hardware solution to a social problem?
I just think awareness, education, and I like the idea of the insurance. What you said with the insurance company, hey, we're going to drop you if someone doesn't do something to protect their asset, because the insurance company is on the line for that property.
Right.
So I don't know what it's going to be. Is there definitely, I think insurance companies could possibly offer financial incentive. Hey, we're going to raise you to here unless you do this, this, and this.
Right.
That may be a good way to get people to listen. But it's amazing to me that people always have this mindset that, oh, it'll never happen to me. And you know what's crazy? After they survive the fire of losing their home, they still live the way it'll never happen again to me. And it's gonna happen.
Yeah, maybe they're
Historically,
playing the odds at that point. What's the chances it'll happen to me twice?
yeah, yeah. So I just I never thought growing up that I would see an entire city burn to the ground. Forest fires were always up in the forest.
Right.
But, like what happened in Paradise, I mean, that's just incredible. And what continues at Palisades, what happened down south, and they blame no water, no this, no that. I'm sorry, you got 65, 75 mile an hour wind, stuff on fire. There's not much that can stop that.
Right. So it's a matter of being proactive, doing their fuel reductions, having your brakes in place in advance, having
Yeah.
equipment staged.
And I believe also these new retardants for spraying on structures, gels like thermogel and things like that. There's a lot of new technology of atomizing water. I believe that's what's, making water more efficient and
Yep.
increasing the humidity of where the environment is, where it won't flourish in that environment. So I think all of these new technologies are going to make a difference.
Yeah. And I love that you see it probably the way a lot of us on this side of it do, as not a wring your hands catastrophe problem, but an opportunity to innovate through a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. First of all, I never ever want anybody to think I'm against the fire department or the
I don't know.
state agencies of forest. Those guys are absolute athletes. What these guys go through fighting fire um, is literally, it's insane. They're amazing people. I would like to have the option to give them more and better technology, to protect them, but to make their efforts more effective.
Right. And maybe, one of the things they really bring to the fire that technology doesn't at this point is fire experience and fire behavior knowledge. And
Yeah.
that you don't have to have your body be the tool, let the tool be the tool. And in fact, right, I'm sure you've played with, autonomous versions of Firebox as an idea where it's too slopey or it's too likely to have a wind change or something, and it's just not worth putting an operator at risk, but we can send the tool to do the job.
Yeah, we currently have a company out of the Bay Area that has just they have an technology that attaches to current track loaders, and the operator can operate it from London, and he can operate that firebox from London.
But not from Essex?
Yeah, from anywhere.
With their MetaQuest headset on, right?
Yeah. It's like playing video games. These guys are really good at it, and so they're currently using the firebox that way, especially in industrial areas where you got chemicals and threat of explosion and things like that. Having a firebox set up with foam or different agents like the F500, things like that. Or is it F500?
It is. There is an F500. And it sounds like you were talking about a MOGA and carbon contract, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we've signed a deal with them, and they're using the firebox on their equipment. We're really excited to see what happens with that. They're also looking at some further technology, AI, of it automatically. We call it Firewatch, where it literally can sit in an area and it can monitor and scan the area. And when it sees a heat source, it can go, actually the machine can go to it and extinguish it and take care of it. So
it's amazing. Yeah. Amoga brought the headset over to my house, and we drove the truck around, from Boulder in San Francisco, and played with the firebox on it.
Nice.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, super cool stuff. Well, it's an exciting time to be in fire.
It is. Fire, it's horrible to see what happens to communities and things like that. but I think you see the best in people when all of us come together to help, and let's make it better so this doesn't happen.
Fascinating. Sean, thank you so much for joining me today on the Firebreak here.
Well, I sure appreciate it, and thank you for everything you guys do, and I'm sure we'll be running into each other again.
I'm sure we will. We're chatting here with Sean Henry, the founder and driving force behind FYREBX. And check them out on the web. It's FYREBX, drop the O, and you'll find all the technology there. Sean, thanks so much for joining me. I'm Steve Wolf. You've been listening to the Firebreak. We're sponsored by Team Wildfire. Till I see you next time, go innovate something. Take care.
Thank you.